Then 2 Flyer goals, Craven and Zezel.
He certainly has stepped out from behind Wayne Gretzky's shadow, hasn't he? And he's an entrepreneur up in Edmonton, has 3 clothing stores. His sales girls got me for a pair of jeans at the top when we were there earlier this week. Largest mall in the world, West Edmonton Mall. And Mark Messier has a store appropriately called Number 11. He also has a downtown store. He knows the trick. Get good salespeople in there.
Have Messier now for the faceoff along with Dave Poulin. With 1:25 to go in this period. Gretzky rolls and it is brushed by Poulin. Tries to get the return pass from Propp, but it'll be Charlie Huddy's play to make. Huddy turning, bothered from behind by the checking of Poulin, but the Oilers can control. They have 55 seconds to go on this man advantage. Messier playing it for Glenn Anderson, but it's under his stick, and so out to handle is Hextall. Hextall flips it back off the glass to Poulin. Has Propp ahead, but gives cross ice to Mark Howe in flight. Howe with a wrist shot, blocked off by Coffey. Oilers still unable to control, and the Flyers doing a good job thus far in the power play. Half a minute to go in it. Paul Coffey starts to fly. Derek Smith forces him back. Now the give is to Tikkanen. Along to Jari Kurri, who steps on Brad Marsh and then waits. The play is to Coffey. Looks for Tikkanen. Feeds it, and it came to Gretzky. Set up for Charlie Huddy. 10 seconds left, man advantage. Coffey waiting. Feeds one, tipped wide by Tikkanen. Charlie Huddy to play. Wrapping it through Tikkanen to Gretzky. 10 seconds left in the period. Kurri, a shot saved by Hextall. Rebound cleared. Onside is Ron Sutter, but Grant Fuhr pushes it away. And the period will come to a close 1 second from now. A delayed offside was whistled down by the linesman Kevin Collins, and so there'll be what will amount to a ceremonial center ice faceoff to end this period, Bill.
And they've weathered the storm. Great job by the Flyers. It wasn't without Ron Hextall's help once again. They had a quality scoring opportunity that Jari Kurri had. Both teams have been called upon to make some pretty good defensive plays. There's Anderson. He got so used to cutting through the middle in game 2. He just thinks he can do it anytime he wants. Well, not against McCrimmon and Howe.
The Philadelphia Flyers come off trailing in this game by 1. In the second period, they had 14 shots. The Oilers had 10.
Great period for the Flyers. If you're sitting in the Flyers locker room, you have to be very, very happy. And I know Mike Keenan is. We'll see if the Flyers can play spectrum hockey in the third.
Mike Keenan says the Oilers are superb at holding a lead in the third period. The question looms, can they do it in this game 3? 3-2 Oilers.
This was Match Light Instant Lighting Charcoal. Now today's Match Light. You can see the difference. Today's Match Light lights twice as fast. Now, watch today's Match Light spread. Fast. Which is why it's ready so fast. Lights fast, spreads fast. Today's Match Light. It's twice as fast.
In the search for materials of lasting value, materials that stand up to the test of time, you must know the sign to look for. Only vulcanized pressure-treated lumber has the diamond label. It's your lifetime guarantee against termites, rot, and decay. So find the diamond. It's worth looking for.
Bud Thunder. It's revved up and coming at you.
It is 3-2 Edmonton, but it could have been a lot worse from the Philadelphia standpoint as Glenn Anderson scored early in the second period to make it a 3-0 game. A lot of people may have thought this one was over, but the Flyers didn't. Murray Craven scored a power play goal, as did Peter Zezel. And after two, it is still a very competitive game, 3-2. We know the goaltenders have been such a story in this Stanley Cup final. Grant Fuhr, a top-flight Conn Smythe Trophy pursuer and candidate with his play so far, and Ron Hextall the same for Philadelphia. Different types of goaltenders have different ways of handling the pressures of playing the net in the Stanley Cup finals. Let's take a look. From hockey's earliest days, goaltenders have been a breed apart. The mental and physical stresses of minding the net, especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs, create unique pressures, ones that make playoff goaltending a highly responsible job.
It's a tough deal being back there in the net. It's a lot of pressure because being a coach like I did, I used to say, if the goal went in, it's your fault. Never mind whose fault it was outside, you're getting paid to stop it. And if it goes in, it's your fault.
It's blunt statements like that one that put goaltending pressure into proper perspective. Coaches and fans don't just want big saves come playoff time, they demand them. Anything short of that, and failure is the operative word. Goaltenders can accept that rationale. Pressure is something that if goalies are to be successful, they must be willing to shoulder in large doses. Pressure also isn't something new. Since teams began fighting for the Stanley Cup, goaltenders have been the focal point. In the 1920s, former Montreal great George Vezina and Ottawa's Clint Benedict shared the spotlight. No different in the 30s for the likes of Tiny Thompson or shutout king George Hainsworth. The 40s were special. Toronto's Turk Broda and Montreal's Bill Durnan dealt with the pressure and reveled in it. The early 50s and a new younger crop. Montreal's Jacques Plante and Detroit's Terry Sawchuk provided us with our first look at how pressure would affect virtual rookies. They handled it flawlessly. Later in the decade, Toronto's Johnny Bauer and Chicago's Glenn Hall joined the group. Imlach says it was a special commitment to the job that enabled these goaltenders to cope with the pressure over an extended period.
When you got to the older teams like that I had, Bauer and Sawchuk, you know, they were the greatest goaltenders that ever played the game. So that was a commitment that they had every game they played and every year they played. It wasn't a case of 1 year and the next year. It was 10 years, 15 years.
The dawn of expansion in 1967, and NHL teams are forced to change their approach, making increased use of younger players. Goaltending made the changes as well. Yes, at the fabled Forum in Montreal, young Ken Dryden turned up. In Chicago, Tony Esposito excelled. Boston featured Jerry Cheevers, while in Philadelphia, Bernie Parent worked his miracles on behalf of the Flyers. That group were able to prove an important point. They did not give in to the playoff pressure.
I think the young goaltenders are coming back. The era of young goaltenders, the gamey one, the aggressive ones, is now open, and more teams are making use of rookies. So, you know, it's a new return to the young element, and it has paid dividends in the past, and it's still paying dividends now in the present.
Last year's Cup final featured Patrick Roy of Montreal and Mike Vernon of Calgary. Both are examples of the excellent crop of netminders the NHL features in 1987. It's their maturity and ability to withstand the pressure at such a tender age that is garnering a great deal of attention around the hockey world. It's a sort of naive ignorance to the stresses of playoff hockey. While many talk of how the pressure will eventually catch up with them, many of these goaltenders ignore the reports and continue to perform in excellence. Edmonton's Andy Moog is one who looks back to his very first pressure playoff experience.
I think the fact that I was young probably made me think that I didn't know any better, and that's probably how it came off. I didn't realize the importance of what was going on at the time. Now I do, and I probably get a little more nervous now than I did when I was 20.
That could explain in part why there has been such a high turnover of young goaltenders in the playoffs. Pressure is difficult enough to handle on a short-term basis, but to deal with it year after year, especially with a heavy workload, is a pressure only a goaltender can relate to. Only time will tell us if any of today's crop can be measured with all the greats of years gone by. Playing goal in the National Hockey League, it's been called by some the toughest job in sports. That's debatable. What we can't debate is, though, that goaltenders are definitely a breed apart. They're just different, no doubt about it. We'll be back with more of our second intermission in a moment.
At Duke George Pontiac, you can buy a new car without credit. Now you can own a hot new 87 Pontiac even if you've never financed anything before. Duke George Pontiac is making owning a new Pontiac easier than ever with GMAC special first-time buyer financing. Can-Am, Firebird, Fiero, Sunbird, picture yourself in a new 87 Pontiac with payments you can afford. And best of all, you don't need credit to buy. No games, no gimmicks, just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. Now at Mario Cayo, Constitution Boulevard, Arnold.
These days, it's rough for the small businessman. I've got 3 big kids running stands in my market. Tough competition that I beat with Daly's concentrate. With Daly's here, I get 6 full gallons from a 1-gallon bottle. My cost per serving is less than 4 cents, and I don't have to add sugar. They've got a bunch of great flavors to choose from, and Daly's Super Taste keeps my customers coming back. The bottom line is you'll love Daly's. Right, kid? Right, Jamie.
Waiter, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
Bud Light.
Bud Light, the less filling light beer with the first name and taste. Because everything else is just a light.
Your face takes enough abuse, so Gillette introduces the new Good News Plus disposable. Its LubriSmooth strip is designed to reduce irritation, so shaving feels so good. New Good News Plus.
4-4. Coming this fall to ESPN. The best of the NFL. From preseason contests to 8 Sunday night clashes and the season finale Pro Bowl, you'll see it all live on ESPN. From start to finish this year, pro football duels here on the exclusive cable home of the NFL, ESPN.
Back in our Road to the Cup studios in the Spectrum in Philly, I'm Tom Mees, joined now by Bill Clement between periods. And Bill, time once again to take a look at some key statistics from that second period of play.
Well, the score is always the big one, and the Flyers won that period. So they're playing the rubber match of the game tonight in the third period. The Oilers won the first period, the Flyers won the second period. And the numbers are a little different in the second period. The hits especially are way down for Philadelphia. I suspect that they had about 15 hits worth of adrenaline in the first period. Well, we'll start at the top. 14-10, the Flyers on the attack. Quality shots, that's key. The Flyers had more. Pretty even down the list, but the quality shots is key. There's another stat that's not up there, and that is block shots. The Edmonton Oilers defenseman blocked 8 shots in that period. The Flyers defenseman blocked nothing. And if we go on the assumption or the premise, and I think we can, that the defensemen are only going to block quality shots, Tom, you add the 8 blocks that the Edmonton defenseman made to the 7 quality shots that the Flyers had, and that totals about 15 positional quality chances for the Flyers. That was the difference. That statistic is key for the Flyers, and I'll talk about it until the series is over. They have to have more quality chances than Edmonton because their snipers aren't quite as good.
Bill, the stat really that impresses me about Philadelphia in this game is their heart. They're down 3-0 at one point in this game. And, you know, they had to sag a little bit, most people would think, but they did not. They came back to make it 3-2, and they know that they haven't scored more than 2 goals in any game in this series. I think they deserve plaudits, win or lose this game, for coming back to make a game of it.
Yeah, they sure do. I like the adjectives determination and perseverance. And the Flyers really have had those qualities for so many years. I think they actually draft players that believe in those types of ideals in life. And, you know, no one has been able to deliver the knockout punch against the Flyers. Let's consider that. Sure, they're down tonight in this game, down in the series, but all season long, teams have been trying to push them down, and they've had adversity thrown at them from day one. Once again, here we are in the finals, and the Flyers are here. So I agree with you. I think they deserve a big pat on the back for being where they are right now.
Should be a very exciting and wonderful third period, but one statistic to remember, Philadelphia in this series, and I know we're only in the third game, they have never had the lead in this series. Of course, that's academic if they don't come back to at least tie it up here tonight. But this is a game, again, that the Philadelphia Flyers must have. If Edmonton wins it, it'll be just about impossible for Philadelphia to come back. Bill and I will discuss key plays of the second period in a moment.
You know, we've seen many changes in the AK Valley, but one thing that hasn't changed is the good old hometown flavor. Those familiar sights and sounds have become a part of us, the things we hold dear, our places of worship, places of play, and where some of us work. And since 1929, the Altany Insurance Agency has been a very important part of it all, ensuring the needs of our local people.
I'm Ron Somerville, General Manager of Freeport Ford. Why would you drive to Freeport for a new Ford car or truck? Because we'll beat any bona fide offer from any dealer on all 87 Ford cars and trucks. Financing as low as 3.9 APR, and because we'll give you a $50 savings bond if we can't beat your best deal on a new Ford car or truck. Remember, at Freeport Ford, you don't buy for less, you buy for least.
Freeport Ford, Route 128 between Freeport and Slate Lake.
Moving into the slot, shooting, he scores! Hit the goal post! Great save! Going in on a break. Score! Here's another breakaway. Score!
Shooting at a stick save. He winds a drive. A save, a shot. There goes. Oh, and a check.
The shot scores! Scores!
He goes!
NHL hockey. Feel the thunder.
We're at second intermission from the Spectrum in Philly. Edmonton Oilers leading this one 3-2 over the Flyers, seeking to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the series. I'm Tom Mees. I'm downstairs in our studios. In our upstairs studios is Bill Clement. And Bill, when Glenn Anderson scored in the front half of that second period, it was a very big goal for Edmonton. And realistically, a lot of people couldn't be excused for putting the Flyers out at that point.
Well, we actually up here started talking about the Conn Smythe winner and mentioning that Glenn Anderson was in the running, as was Grant Fuhr, Mark Messier, and Wayne Gretzky. But the Flyers definitely closed the gap. Let's take a look at how this all shapes up. We talked about speed through the neutral zone and how you have to take that away from the Oilers. The Flyers didn't. That's why Anderson busted all the way through and actually missed his shot. Hextall reacted correctly and ended up getting burnt even though he reacted correctly.
And from that point on, the Philadelphia Flyers snatched the momentum away from Edmonton. Murray Craven with a goal and Peter Zezel, both of them of the unusual variety, Bill.
Well, you'll take them any way you can get them, and it was a double deflection. Murray Craven's goal was, and it was interesting to note that there were a couple of blockers and jammers on the ice. There was Tocchet out there, along with Ron Sutter and Murray Craven. That's not a really potent power play unit when you look at it, but it certainly worked for the Flyers, and it took a lot of hard work by all of them. Ron Sutter especially, who ends up in the corner taking a beating from behind. Here he is with Huddy all over him. He'll hit him once. Watch this cross-check right here. He bangs him, but Sutter makes the play and concentrates. It comes out off of Lowe and then off of Craven. Here's the Peter Zezel goal now, and Rick Tocchet again does great work. Zezel, excellent footwork. Craig Muni taps it. And as we mentioned when this happened, Don Koharski was right there to call it. He comes into the play. Muni starts to argue with him, but to no avail. When Don Koharski turns and looks at the player that's arguing with him and gets right in his face, you know Koharski's right.
Yes, he was very decisive on that play, Bill Clement. And once again, our slow-mo reverse angle really showed that to perfection. Well, that's it for this edition of the Coke Scoreboard on Road to the Cup. We're just about set for the third period of play between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Edmonton Oilers for the third period. Let's go back upstairs to the gentleman who will call the play, Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
All right, Tom, thank you. No penalties to carry over into this period, so there'll be no power play at the start. But in the second period, it was 2-0 at the start. Anderson made it 3-0 for the Oilers from Messier and Coffey. Then Craven and Zezel answered for Philadelphia. Craven on the power play while the Oilers were being boxed for too many men. And Zezel while Tikkanen was off for a slash. Zezel's goal unassisted.
You know, Mike, in Game 2, we talked about the Flyers' great record in the playoffs when leading after 2. They're 9-0. They were 9-0 until the Oilers came back and tied them and beat them. And, you know, the Oilers entering the third period with the lead in the playoffs are 7-0. They've yet to be defeated when they've led after 2. Wonder if we'll see a reversal tonight.
Philadelphia has been in 6 games and trailed at the end of 2, and they are 1-5. And the first check of the period was from Kjell Samuelsson. Here's Nielsen moving in. Oh, and just missed Lowe with the pass. Kjell Samuelsson banks one firmly ahead and gets it to Zezel, but is passed up. And Nielsen goes back to lend some help to Craig Muni. Back up for Nielsen, but checked by Tocchet. On now they come, and Nielsen moves in, but the play is offside.
For the Cup, the Stanley Cup Finals on ESPN is being brought to you by Volvo, a car you can believe in. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by the Norelco Electric Rotatrack Razor. Norelco, we put quality first. 3-2 Edmonton. Let's go back to Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement.
You know, the Oilers, should they not be able to hold this lead, would end up busting a couple of goose eggs. We mentioned that they're 7-0 when leading after 2 periods. They also haven't been defeated on the road in the playoffs so far. So they got a couple of statistics, for those of you who are numbers-minded, in their favor right now.
Oilers enter this one having lost 1 of their last 15 playoff games. Carson over to Mellenby. Drive, and no matter. Offside is called on the play. 48 seconds gone here in the third. The Oilers leading the Flyers 3-2. Along with Tom Mees and Bill Clement, Mike Emmerich from the Spectrum in Philadelphia. The series is 2-0 Edmonton, winning both games at the Northlands Coliseum.
There's one of my young favorites in the Flyers team, Scott Mellenby. Tough kid. His dad's a busy man right now. He has been the executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada for many years, but actually stepped up to coordinate all of the television coming from the Winter Olympics that are upcoming in Calgary, Ralph Mellenby. So Mellenby family very well aware of what's going on TV-wise.
Carson's shot is wide. Tikkanen can't clear. McCrimmon, a shot that was tipped en route by Ron Sutter. Little finesse by Gretzky, and it was handled by Carson, who took a swat from Curry, but gave to McCrimmon. Then for Mellenby, but the pass was across 2 lines.
You know, Mike, we haven't made much of the matchups tonight. I think we haven't bothered to because the matchups weren't that crucial in Edmonton. Mike Keenan didn't go out of his way to try and match anybody special with Wayne Gretzky, other than trying to perhaps keep Eklund's line from getting out there against him. But tonight, with the home ice change, he's been able to keep Ron Sutter out there most of the time. And although Sutter hasn't followed him around, you can't say that Sutter has shadowed him. He's done a pretty effective job with his help from his teammates. He's held Wayne Gretzky to only 1 shot on goal. Gretzky had 14 attempted shots on goal in game 1. He was all over the ice, but they kept him in check much better tonight.
Turning with this is McTavish, but falls. Still tries to play, and with it McSorley to Krushelnyski, who shot it wide. Gregg turns one across the goal mouth, and this will be Prop ahead and across 2 lines to Dave Poulin. Early in the third, 3-2 Edmonton.
Excuse me, is Muddy around?
You got something for him?
I just wanted to thank him for his music.
You're welcome to wait.
Well, I'm a king bee, baby, buzzing round, try my luck once again.
Thanks.
When Coca-Cola's a part of your life.
Who's this from? Buddy, I like the way you play my music.
You can't beat the feeling.
Phil, do you think Edmonton is going to play it cozy here?
Well, I don't think they're going to intentionally do it, Mike. I don't think the Flyers did it that much intentionally the other night, but you instinctively try and protect the lead. It's something that you can't avoid. It just happens. But if the Flyers want to try and open it up and gamble a little bit, the one problem they'll have against the Edmonton Oilers is the Oilers have such firepower. All it takes is 1 defensive lap, and the Flyers are 2 goals behind and not 1 goal behind.
Boy, we saw what defensive problems can cause in Game 2 when the Flyers were leading 2-1 going into the third. Played so carefully, seemed to have everything so much in tow, but you just can't play carefully enough. Around it is to Dave Poulin, pestered by McTavish, hit hard though by McSorley. And on now with it is Craven, working to McCrimmon, and McCrimmon just surrounded by Oilers, still able to fidget it along, but the play made by McTavish. Dumps it off for Glenn Anderson, but it's punched away by Marsh. Anderson outreached him, McTavish goes over, and he and McCrimmon cancel one another. Outlet pass is on to Brian Prop. Drive! Oh, and that caused Bure to bail out. It is Marsh behind for Brian Prop, but it's shanked off his skate. In comes Tocchet to muscle it along. He and Muni tie up. Down goes Tocchet. The play is Kevin Lowe's. Little hand on to Anderson, then up the wing to Mark Messier. Messier dishes off, hoping for Anderson, but instead getting Prop. It is Muni with 17:10 to go, third period, game 3. 3-2 Oilers. Nielsen a shot, and it's tipped out of play by Brad Marsh. Wonder if Marsh ever wanted to be a goaltender. The way he drops in front of shots, the way he uses his stick to poke check as well as deflect.
There's a guy that never wanted to be a goalie. He just wanted to be a goal scorer. Kent Nilsson. We'll get this one. reverse angle shows Brad Marsh just getting it with the hosel, or the lower shaft of his stick.
What was that?
The hosel. It's part of a golf club.
Oh.
Oh, we're getting to the end of the hockey season. Can you tell? I'm using golf terms.
Bud keeps the action going so you can enjoy the Stanley Cup Finals. Cleveland, Tennessee to Pittsburgh, Vermont. Hoopa, California to Saudi, Daisy, Tennessee. Wherever you're watching the game, for all you do across this great land of ours, this Bud's for you. Peter Zezel for the face-off with Messier. Choked down on the hosel, ready for the draw. Now Hextall straightens up as there's a delay. Coffey comes in because his stick blade may actually have been cracked, and he'll get permission to go for another one.
He's just going for the 9-iron, Mike. That's all. You know, one thing that we're going to see in this game that we didn't see in Game 2 is a lot more at this stage of the hockey game for the Oilers. We're going to see more of Craig McTavish, Marty McSorley, Mike Krushelnyski. You see that rack of sticks that he had to choose from? Now you know what Paul Coffey does the day of the game. He sits and plays Carpenter. But in Game 2, with the Oilers trailing, doesn't say they're played the Messier and Gretzky line to death, and he had to. He was trailing. Tonight, the guys that are strong defensively will be out there just as much, the McTavishes and McSorleys.
We've seen them here early in the third. Right now, a centering pass is brushed away by Hextall and taken by Ron Sutter. Flyers hurry out, but it's still only a 2-on-2 as Derek Smith drops in. Goes to get it, but Charlie Huddy is there. Zezel anticipated, but did not control. Anderson's pass is away from Nielsen. Gathered in by Brad Marsh. Off the skate of Zezel, and then to Tocchet. Tocchet's pass knocked down by Glenn Anderson, who is in. Anderson hooked off and taken out of the play by Shell Samuelson, recovering brilliantly for Philadelphia. And Big Shell turns to bring it further. This is Samuelson moving up the wing. Still trying to force play, but it's Charlie Huddy. Anderson was loose.
He's loose again.
Right in front, it's punched by Hextall. Curry takes over. Backhander is wide. Messier tries to center, and Samuelson takes care of him. Now Sutter tying up Anderson, and back it comes to Messier and Samuelson. Curry knocks it free, but Mark Howe is there. Smooth skating Philadelphia defenseman. Howe steps toward the Edmonton line. Feeds off. Tocchet a drive, and it hit off Fuhrer, and then he's knocked down. Tocchet flips one off the glass. It careens near Lindsey Carson. Across the goal mouth and off the mark. McCrimmon will play for Philadelphia. Tested by Gressier, just drops it off to Sutter, who hacks it back in. 15:30 left in the third. Oilers 3-2, and Curry is hurt. Stoppage of play. The collision was with Sutter.
Head first. You know, Mike, I've been in exactly this position before. I'll tell you, the same thing happened to me a number of years ago in Edmonton, and it was Dave Lumley. I didn't see him coming. I tripped and went right into his legs, and it was my neck. I cracked a vertebrae in my neck and a little bit of skull in the back. Got to hope for the Oilers' sake that it's not his neck.
The score of our game here at the Spectrum, Edmonton 3 and Philadelphia 2.
Hey, could I tap some of your computer expertise, son?
So you finally gave in?
Yeah, for starters, how does the disk fit into the disk drive?
Okay,
The Army can train you to program, operate, or fix computers.
What does the printer interface do?
It lets the computer talk to the printer.
They talk to each other.
What do they say? Then there's a telephone modem hookup.
And the computer training you get is yours forever.
Like you're not going to be the only computer expert in the valley.
In the search for materials of lasting value, materials that stand up to the test of time, you must know the sign to look for. Only vulcanized pressure-treated lumber has the diamond label. It's your lifetime guarantee against termites, rot, and decay. So find the diamond. It's worth looking for.
The Spectrum is noisy, and on the replay you'll get a chance to see why this game is tied.
Right off a face-off from the neutral zone. Scott Mellenby will get loose on the far side. Randy Gregg pinches at the wrong time. And finally, Grant Fuhr gets beat on a long one. Look how far to the net Fuhr is. Mark Howe, what a better guy to have the puck. There isn't one in the Flyers team. When there's one man open, you want Mark Howe to have it. Here's our reverse angle look, super slow-mo. Mellenby between the legs, and if there's one area that Fuhr is a touch vulnerable because he spreads, it's between his legs.
Here is Sutter. It's to Mellenby to McCrimmon. He scores!
17 seconds apart. Mellenby again, all the way over to McCrimmon. How valuable do you think that defenseman is getting up on the play? Lindsey Carson's at the bottom of your screen, backing up McCrimmon, and McCrimmon went for it. Mellenby threaded the needle, and he bounced it in off of Fuhr's chest. Fuhr was all the way at the other side of the net facing Mellenby. Can you believe it? It's 4-3 Philadelphia.
In case you're just joining us, where have you been? Let's see it one more time. The one that broke the tie. Brad McCrimmon celebrating the goal that has thus far brought the crowd to its loudest ovation. This team in white trailed 3-0 earlier in the game. Got 2 in the second and 2 in 17 seconds of the third to go ahead.
One more look at it. No one goes wide to the left. It's a clear 3-on-2. And Craig Muni decides to go to the net with Ron Sutter. That left McCrimmon open, and he had to bank it in right off the Oiler crest on Grant Fuhr's jersey.
It is deafening here as Howe skitters one through that's handled by Kevin Lowe. Lowe with the pass across. Oh, and a hit applied there for Philadelphia by Murray Craven. Puck wrapped in, and Hextall has it. Wraps it along for Poulin. He's pressed by Lowe. Puck taken and backhanded to the front, but that blocked off by McCrimmon. Every clear out, every play that is blocked down, just as McCrimmon did, is greeted by incredible volume. It'll be icing. They'll applaud this too.
You know what the concern is now if you're an Edmonton Oiler. We talked about the Flyers getting chances if the Oilers try and sit on it and play a conservative defensive style. Well, you know what? The last 2 goals the Flyers have scored have been simple defensive breakdowns by the Edmonton Oilers. So we know now that they're certainly still have a degree of vulnerability to them in tight defensive situations. The Mellenby goal came from a missed check at center. Listen to them here. And the last goal, also a missed play defensively.
Do they love this team? It's been going on here, this love affair, for most of 20 years, and has made this, along with Chicago Stadium, the most imposing place for the visitors. Coffey bails out. Marsh tries to get to it, had his stick held, and now spins one for Zezel. Off Messier. A chance here is Coffey. Blast one. Held by Hextall.
You know what else I'm seeing that I didn't see much of in Game 2 in Edmonton? A 5th defenseman out there. Shel Samuelson's on the ice in this exchange as well. And he's played more and more as the game has gone by. He was actually a 6'6" screen on that one. Look at Marsh and Anderson get into it. Big Samuel. Samuelson's involved. I take a chance on him when he's that involved. Reverse angle, look at the shot. Hextall covers up. The battle in front. The trenches in front and in the corners. Oh, what are you going to do now, Glenn? Not much. That's 6'6", 225-pound Shel Samuelson asserting himself. There he is. They got to play him. This is a tough series. This is a long year. We're into May. We're almost into June. You got to go with 5, and Mike Keenan is showing more confidence in Samuelson tonight.
You saw the contrast, the snarl on Marsh's face, and the seeming calmness with Shel Samuelson, but he's been anything but calm in this one as Sutter moves in. Finesses for the shot by Samuelson that sure hangs on. Wonderful action from the Spectrum. 13:41 to go, third period, 4-3 Philadelphia.
The action away from the puck. Lindsey Carson, or make that Murray Craven hanging on to Hunter's stick and paying the price, but that's what the finals are all about, paying the price. Meanwhile, Craig McTavish takes a page from Wayne Gretzky's book, the little button hook turn and back out into the middle. Hextall loses this one for a second. He looks behind him. Now he has it. Good look from our reverse angle.
The word on Crossman is something that's common to us all now and then. He has sickness to his stomach, and it has forced him at least temporarily from this game. Randy Gregg was injured earlier. So was Jari Kurri. Both of them have come back for at least a shift. The line for the Oilers will be Messier with Anderson on his left and Nielsen on his right. Muni the right defense and Kevin Lowe the left. As you see the Oilers at their bench.
What a change the Flyers have laid on the Oilers this period. They've limited to 1 shot. We're down to halfway to go in the third period, and the Oilers only have 1 shot on Ron Hextall. I guess 2 with that last one. The Flyers have taken 6 on Grant Fuhr. You know, we talked about patience and determination, and we talked about the Oilers having acquired that. The Flyers showed me something tonight.
Peter Zezel rolls in, wanting Derek Smith. Shoulders with Muni. Zezel canceled out by Lowe in the centering pass. Floats wide for Tocchet. Turnarounder is across the goal mouth wide, and Derek Smith is hurt. Did not see the puck coming by him. Mark Howe quickly back, plays it over to McCrimmon. Then on the turning stick of Rick Tocchet. Pass is checked away by Nielsen, who moves back in. Hands over to Messier. In front. Save! Hextall!
Well, that was sure a quality scoring chance in anybody's book. Watch out for Messier. You know, Ken Nielsen told me before this series started, and there's Nielsen dishing off to Messier. The big strength and the great ability to cut in. And the charge for the rebound. Messier, when he has the head of steam, you can see Mark Howe didn't even get the hook to him. But Ken Nielsen told me before this playoff started, when I said, what's it like playing with Messier and Anderson? He said, sometimes Anderson and I have to laugh at Messier. He's so determined. He gets to the bench and he looks at us and he gets a weird look in his eyes and stares at us and he says, time to pick it up, boys. And when Mark Messier turns it on, and that was an example of him picking it up, look out.
Glenn Sather behind the Oiler bench. And the premier player for the Oilers and for Team World, Wayne Gretzky, ready to take the draw with Ron Sutter. Kurri is in the trigger position, just out of camera range, behind Gretzky and to his left. It is Charlie Huddy, right defense, left defense, Paul Coffey. Mike Keenan orchestrating the Philadelphia position. Kevin Collins, linesman from Springfield, Massachusetts, will put it between Gretzky and Ron Sutter. And it is Craven. 9 minutes, 30 seconds to go. Philadelphia has come from behind to take the lead in this game. They were down at 1 point, 3-0. But the score of our game from the Spectrum now is Philadelphia 4, Edmonton 3.
Volvo 760, the car for people whose means have changed, but whose values haven't.
defense pair with Paul Coffey. Gretzky has Curry on his right. And across on the left now, rather than Esa Tikkanen, is Mike Krushelnyski. Puck fed back and by Coffey. Craven after him, and Coffey dumps it back off to Huddy. Huddy's pass is right on the money to Paul Coffey. Coffey tested by Craven, who forces it away. Krushelnyski to Gretzky, and an errant pass, and the Oilers showing some bluster. 9 minutes to go. Ron Sutter takes over, plays it safely for McCrimmon to drop back on Huddy's stick. Huddy turns it on to Yari Curry, and again the forechecking pays off. This is Sutter, while Crone tries to send it in front, and then Curry carried off by Carson. Mike Krushelnyski starts back. This is a 3-on-3 developing. Krushelnyski tries to finesse McCrimmon and can't do it. Brad McCrimmon, who has right now the tie-breaking goal, fed that one ahead. It's broken up at the line, but furthered by Sutter. Here's Poulin, wanting the center, and Coffey forced into the boards. Don Koharski watches, then blows the whistle to stop the clock with 8:17 left in the third. Philadelphia 4, Edmonton still 3.
Don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
Bud Light.
Bud Light, the less filling light beer with the first name and taste. As everything else
The dining car.
is just a light.
2 out of 3 Indy drivers rely on STP oil treatment, because when it comes down to it, STP adds extra lubrication to reduce engine wear in whatever you drive.
STP is the racer's edge.
You know, we talked about the bad ice here and how it would work against the Flyers as long as they were trailing. All of a sudden, the Oilers' advantage has become their disadvantage. They're trailing. And I've really noticed that in the last couple of minutes, the Flyers are doing what they do so well. They're taking the flow away from the Oilers. Poulin accepted a freeze along the boards. That's why we have this face-off. And they will try and squash the flow. Without the flow, the Oilers will have an even tougher time, especially with the ice the way it is. Well, we've talked about leading through example, and Peter Zezel has done it tonight with those hits. That face-off, he's able to muscle behind, locks up with McTavish. 8:08 to go. Third period, 4-3 Philadelphia. This is Ruotsalainen for Messier, but he has to play the bounce and then roll. Right, it bounced over his stick just because of bad ice. That one hit an uneven piece of the board, and the Flyers will try to play further, and it's Tocchet lifting it back out. Ruotsalainen drops it over. It's flipped ahead, and ahead with it now is McTavish. Forced to spin by Samuelson. Off the referee's skate. And here comes Eklund. Moving in with Derek Smith, the trailer. Eklund is shot. Saved by Fjord. And he waits. What a perfectly executed 2-on-1 by that man, Pelle Eklund. The only thing that wasn't completely perfect was that he didn't score, but he cocked it and looked for the man coming. Derek Smith is coming to Eklund's left. See him pick him up right there, but he still got it cocked. He knows he can't make the pass to Smith. Muni played it pretty well. He took the pass away. From the other side, super slow-mo. Eklund took a glance right there to figure out who was with him. And I like this play. He always keeps it cocked, ready to shoot. Now he can pass or shoot. He elects to shoot and comes within a couple of inches of getting it between Grant Fuhr's legs. That's only Eklund's second shot in this hockey game. So you know that the Oilers have been paying a little attention to him. Why shouldn't they? In the Montreal series, we saw him in 2 consecutive games up in Montreal notch 6 points, including 5 goals. We saw the referee, Don Koharski, and now the Oilers bench. Glenn Sather very calmly looking on. Face-off will be in his team's defensive end of the ice. And Dave Poulin will have to take it from that man, Mark Messier. Yes, you saw a close-up. That is a face that could stare daggers if you were a line mate not producing. It is low. Then to Muni and to Nielsen. Crisply to Messier. Messier has a man with him. It's Anderson. Play broken down by Mark Howe and started back out by Poulin. Dave Poulin looks to Propp. Tries to get away. But a good check applied there by the Oilers' Craig Muni.
And another one as Howe goes down with Anderson. It's McCrimmon taking over. 7:05 to go in the third. And Muni must turn and chase. After him is Craven. Follows through on the check. Play made by Kevin Lowe. Lowe guides it ahead. Messier looks, hands onto Anderson, drive, and that's trapped by Hextall. Hextall able to put it in play. Shunted along by Charlie Huddy, but Brad Marsh is there. Still they work, and Marsh on second effort gets it to Tocchet. Deflected by Coffey, and Tocchet tried to hatchet it in, but that didn't work. Brad Marsh on now to Tocchet. Plays the safe one, but that under Zezel. Turning with it is Yari Curry. Broken up by Tocchet. Drive, no goal, offside. You were probably able to overhear Don Koharski. One of the few people you've been able to hear in the third period.
Here's a look at it.
Oh.
Does that not look onside to you?
Yep.
Sure looked like it was from where I'm sitting. The big blast by Tocchet. Man, I got to tell you.
That puck must be all the way outside and clear of the blue line. It wasn't. 6:24 to go in the third. 4-3 Philadelphia.
The 1946 MG. The 1957 Thunderbird. The 1987 Volvo 740 Turbo. A collector's item you can drive every day.
The man out of the University of Wisconsin who got the one that tied it at 4:37 of the period, Scott Mellenby.
And then assisted on the one that sent the Flyers into the lead. One more look at this offside call. It nullified a goal by the Flyers. Here it comes. Any way you look at it, I don't think we need another angle of that one. What a different Flyers team with the lead than we've seen in the last few games, Mike. I think back to about a minute and a half ago of a 3-on-3 with Messier's line leading the charge. Two defensemen back and Dave Poulin back. So it's a 3-on-3. Those are the kind of situations the Flyers really sagged in key situations in game 1 and 2. They stood them right up, forced the turnover at their blue line. And that, to me, is the difference in the Flyers with this lead in the third period. They've really shut the Oilers down and taken away their quality chances. More assertive.
If you could only bottle whatever it is that turns things like this around, you could retire tomorrow and sell the rights.
Take a momentum pill, right? Little capsule of momentum. We'd be retired.
Ron Finn, the veteran linesman, to put the puck in play again. The scoreboard clock shows that the Oilers have 6 minutes, and now 2, and now 1 second. 6 minutes even in which to get at least a tie. They trail in the game 4-3. But as the Flyers found out 2 nights ago, it can change quickly. Here's Curry trying to beat Gretzky, and it's flung back out by Carson. And then Sutter tripped up. Play continues. On it comes from Gretzky to Curry. Cross ice and Coffey over skate. Brad McCrimmon sees an alley. Hands on to Mellenby. Drive! And Fuhrer got in front of that. Play made back along to Tikkanen, who checks with Sutter. Sutter in front. Mellenby for Carson, and it's knocked away by Charlie Huddy. On with it comes Gretzky. Gretzky a drive. Trickles wide. Brad Marsh checks with his man Yari Curry. Muscling in are Tikkanen and Sutter. Puck comes loose to Curry. Can't get it in front because of Samuelson. Puck held by Ruotsalainen, a drive blocked by Mars. Gregg centers one, blocked by Hextall, swung away by Brad Marsh, and it's cleared by Samuelson. Furious action at the Philadelphia goal. The biggest line of the Oilers out there. Couldn't knock it home. Brad Marsh checked firmly on the play, but gets it to Derek Smith, then on out to Zezel. Zezel leading the Flyer rush back. Taken down on the play. Offside. And for that, and not the penalty that the Flyer fans wanted, the clock is stopped. 4:35 left in the third. It's still Philadelphia 4, Edmonton 3.
What's all the ruckus?
I'm a chicken hawk and I can't catch any chickens.
Don't be a lunkhead, son. You want to know how to get great chicken? Go to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Maybe it's the special way they cook that finger-licking good chicken. Or maybe it's those herbs and spices. It's America's favorite chicken. Now get going, son. I'll protect the ladies. Must be losing my touch.
There'll be a face-off, but first, some conversation. Kelly Buchberger standing next to Tocchet. This is only the second shift appearance we recall of Buchberger tonight. He is the fistic, hard-checking left winger that came to the Oilers after their farm team in Nova Scotia of the American League was eliminated from the playoffs. Eklund, the center, Craven, the left wing, Tocchet, the right. And Tocchet protesting to Don Koharski about encroachment by Buchberger.
Pretty good restraint by Tocchet. It is Buchberger that's pushing him. There's an imaginary line that runs right through the face-off dot over to where the wingers are standing. And that's what the linesmen and the referees try to control. Buchberger was definitely encroaching on the line, pushing Tocchet right back.
McCrimmon drives into the glove of Fuhr. And it is Muni in the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds of regulation time. His team trailing by 1. Kevin Lowe up the wing, and Buchberger angles one in. Craven takes his man out, but there is McSorley for a turnarounder. And the pad of Hextall got that one. It is Eklund for Philadelphia. Lobs it over to Murray Craven, and Craven is shot sticked away by Fuhr. Buchberger checked by Tocchet. The puck popped by McCrimmon, gathered in by Howe, and McSorley right after him. McCrimmon into the referee. Back McCrimmon will have a second try and just brushes it loose. Kevin Lowe turns in the final 3:50 of regulation. Sends it too far for Buchberger, who waltzes with Howe, takes him down. Play continues, then McSorley comes in and steps into Dave Brown. We've talked of discipline, and Brown, who normally likes to fly into those, exercises it there.
Restraint. Sorry, restraint is the word.
The scene is the Spectrum in Philadelphia. 3:42 to go in the third. With Bill Clement and Tom Meese, Mike Emmerich. Philadelphia trailed at one time 3-0. Craven and Zezel scored in the second. Mellanby and McCrimmon in the third. And the Flyers have the lead. It'll be a center ice face-off, as it was the Oilers ruled guilty of freezing the puck. Dave Brown comes to the bench, and it'll be Tocchet out once more. Boy, he's been busy in this third period.
And he has exercised restraint, too. You know that Buchberger's out there trying to throw him off his game, perhaps get him to retaliate. Rick Tocchet, very disciplined in the third.
Brad Marsh ahead. And Marsh just lays it back. It gets by Fuhr. Tocchet is there for Philadelphia and sent one off his stick wide. Puck nudged along and handled by Kent Nielsen. Directed ahead by Anderson to Messier. Wanted to return it, but Zezel in the way. Paul Coffey matched up with Huddy. Powerful line up front. Moves ahead. Glenn Anderson fakes the drive. Watched by Samuelson. Quick shot. And covering his angles well was Hextall. Making that one look quite simple, and it was, because he had that side closed. Marsh drops it back, and Coffey had to thread one through Zezel, but did over to Huddy. Too far up the wing for Anderson. Under 3 minutes to play. Paul Coffey connects now with Nielsen. Back up to Messier. Leaned on by Samuelson, and again, the big defenseman forces it to go the other way. Drop a shot, and that one ricocheted off an Oiler defenseman. Guided back out for a little kick to Messier. Messier, a shot, and it's wide. Guided back out on the backhand by Sutter. There'll be an icing call. Back to touch is Tikkanen with snow flying. The clock stops. 2:28 left in the third.
Well, the Flyers finally found a piece to the puzzle, at least the piece that solves the Grant Fuhr puzzle. Tonight they scored 4 on him, and that's something that the Oilers haven't allowed. You mentioned it earlier, Mike, in 11 games, in all of the Detroit series, all of the Winnipeg series, the first 2 of this, in 11 games, the Oilers had not allowed more than 3 goals. 2 of the goals tonight went right through Grant Fuhr's legs, and a third one went through that was disallowed. That's the area that they finally hit there where they can beat Grant Fuhr.
They are standing here to salute the play of their Flyers in this third period. There'll be another one Sunday, 7 Eastern Daylight Time. That'll be Game 4. We'll have it for you on ESPN. Regardless of your loyalties, or even if you're a neutral, you have to respond to the gameness of this Philadelphia team and the atmosphere that we're all feeling here at the Spectrum. Philadelphia down 2 games to none, down 3 goals to none. Craven and Cecil in the second, Mellanby, and then Mellanby setting up McCrimmon here in the third. Flyers by 1, but Gretzky's line is out. Craven gives up to Ruotsalainen, whose shot ricochets off 2. McCrimmon checked off by Tikkanen. Puck kept by Gregg. Back for Tikkanen, working with Curry. The puck behind to Gretzky. Centers, but it's off the diving Mark Howe. Mellanby tries to check it further, and they have to play back at center ice. 2:05 to go. Delayed offside is wiped as the Flyers play out, and quickly it turns the other way, and Hextall is forced once more. Wraps it around. It hits off the rail and takes a Flyer bounce back to the Edmonton line. Ruotsalainen on the turning stick of Randy Gregg. Then to Gretzky. Finesses on to Tikkanen. Chopped at, then shoved down by Derek Smith. Oh, and right on goal came a quick shot that Hextall grabbed. And Tikkanen comes back after Mark Howe. And now Derek Smith going after him and knocks him over.
Dig in, guys. Time to go to the races. And at this stage of the game, the Oilers, who usually look for a quality shot, aren't going to bother. They're drifting him from sharp angles. Ruotsalainen, that time, guys trying to jam for the rebounds. That's when you end up with the confrontations like we just saw between the European version of Kenny Linsman, if you will, Esa Tikkanen, and Derek Smith. So the Oilers are forced now to forget about the picture-perfect play unless they see it. They're not going to try and create it. It has to be readily available for them. They'll just start drifting rubber and jamming the way the Flyers do when they're in situations like this.
2 prominent players tonight. Bill just mentioned one in Tikkanen. But another on defense for Philadelphia is out there again. Doug Crossman has been ill, sick to his stomach, and his shift has been taken over by Swedish-born Kjell Samuelsson. 17,222 watching here at the Spectrum.
You know, one of the reasons that the Oilers are going to jam him from the side, I mentioned that they're at the stage of the game where they can make a perfect play, but also the Flyers aren't letting them see anything. They've only had 2 quality scoring chances, 2 quality shots in this period. That's how they control the Oilers. Keep the quality chances down.
Big face-off, Messier and Ron Sutter encroaching Anderson. Warren back as Nielsen gives to Coffey as shots. Off of Anderson, who was waltzing with Samuelsson, and ahead now Tocchet. Big drive, blocked away by Fuhr. Tocchet pinches again, broken up by Huddy. Messier comes back to help out, and Fuhr has to tend it away. Ron Sutter, checked by Anderson, and Anderson tries to lob it out, but can't. Tries to carry. That doesn't work, and Tocchet drills one high and wide from center ice, and that one come careening in. 1:15 to go. Down to the ice, Anderson. Play made ahead by Charlie Huddy. Howe leaning on him. Huddy to Messier. Messier curls the net. Feeds over for Anderson, broken up. Still in his goal is Grant Fuhr. It is Coffey turning and going down. Brian Propp picks it up. Plays it for McCrimmon. 50 seconds to go. Puck wrapped along, and Anderson able to punch it through to Nielsen. 45 seconds left. We'll keep an eye on Fuhr as play moves ahead. Nielsen carries it. Nielsen into the zone, and the whistle is blown. Offside is the call. Fuhr was only halfway out of his crease. He had not made the move to the bench yet. 39 seconds to play.
They're in a tough spot now, the Oilers, with Ramfior not out of the net and the faceoff outside the blue line. 39 seconds isn't a lot of time. What an effort by the Flyers.
And we're getting a timeout call. An opportunity for the Flyers to have a breather and the Oilers to form plans.
Well, they better come up with a big one. What a turnaround. And you know, when we talk about patience and determination, you can't understand unless you've played the game what it means to go down 3-0 in a hockey game, especially against the Edmonton Oilers, and to come back. Your attitude is tested to the greatest degree that it could be tested. And more times than not, the average team ends up letting down, and they never do recover. But these two hockey teams didn't get here just with skill and just with determination. It's that ingrained desire to win combined with a hatred for losing that won't allow them to quit. And neither of these teams has allowed each other to quit. When they get to the bench, guys like Messier will say to Nilsson and Anderson, pick it up, guys. You know that Dave Poulin and Peter Zezel and Brad Marsh and all the Flyers are saying the same thing. It's a test of will sometimes, especially when this game changes back and forth the way it does. And both of these teams are so strong-willed.
24 square feet of net is open at the other end. 6 attackers. You won't find better players in all the world. Curry, Messier, Gretzky, Coffey. Also, Ruotsalainen and McTavish out for Edmonton. Propp, Zezel, Ron Sutter, Big Shell Samuelson, and Mark Howe defending for Philadelphia. And it's to Samuelson. Samuelson plays it to Propp, and Propp shovels one in.
In case you're wondering if it would have been an icing had he missed, the answer is no. Brian Propp makes the thinking man's play. His skate was over center. His follow-through was over center. The linesman did not signal that it was going to be an icing call. Disgusted Paul Coffey. Even if Propp misses the net, that is not an icing call. Great thinking play. And the Flyers have locked it up. We got a series.
Just in case there was any doubt about the willingness to hit, Stanley and Brown are out on the wing for Lindsey Carson for the final 31 seconds. Here's Stanley wheeling in. Takes his man down, and it's Carson centering, and Stanley turned around and hit the outside of the goal. McTavish shovels. Carson broke it up. Centers one, and Fuhr hangs on with 14 seconds left.
You can see that the tempers are there, and I have to like Mike Keenan's move. He has the last change. The Oilers put out Kevin McClellan. He's a tough guy. Buchberger's tough. Krushelnyski can take care of himself. You never know what's going to happen at the end of a game when a guy like McClellan or McSorley is upset at losing. Why not put Darryl Stanley and Dave Brown out there just to make sure nothing gets out of hand?
A guy by the name of Dave Leonardi, who is better known as Sign Man. Displaying some of his, we'll give you some of ours. Samuelson and Zezel assisting Propp. But there's the big sign that indicates we'll go to Game 4 with Edmonton having 2 wins and Philadelphia having 1. And in case you keep track of things like this, despite her passing 2 years ago, the recording of Kate Smith adds to the record that was kept from the time of Clement here. 56, 9, and 2. When Kate Smith sings or has her music played, we're down to the last 7 seconds of a beautifully played game, especially in the comeback role of Philadelphia. 1 second is left, and now Don Koharski may have hoped that that one would have gone off because Dave Brown and Marty McSorley seem willing.
You know, if I'm the Edmonton Oilers, I want to get the heck out of here and get into the locker room. Nothing can be served by Marty McSorley tangling with Dave Brown. He could whip Dave Brown right now, and it wouldn't help the Oilers. But I'll tell you, if Dave Brown happened to whip Marty McSorley, that's a double setback for the Oilers, emotionally, losing the game and having one of their toughest guys knocked around by Dave Brown. Nothing can be served by the Oilers, only the Flyers in engaging now and stuff like that.
Good point. Again, in case you missed it, the assists were Samuelson and Zezel. Zezel winning the faceoff. Samuelson just flinging it ahead to Propp, who put it in from 90 feet. An empty net goal with 34 seconds to go. And with 1 second left, all that's left is the loudest cheer of the night.
You know who has come through pretty well for Philadelphia? Once we noticed Doug Crossman wasn't here, Kjell Samuelsson. I wonder if he might have proved to Mike Keenan that he can play in a series like this, and maybe Mike Keenan will be a little more anxious to use him in certain situations and save the wear and tear on the four guys. There he is, biggest guy in the National Hockey League, and he's criticized because he looks so slow out there, but big guys have it tougher. They don't look like they're producing. He tries darn hard. 6'6", 225 pounds, and it frustrates a lot of the blue-collar people in Philadelphia because he doesn't play like a guy that's 6'6" and 225.
Now off the face-off, Craven is involved across the way with the left winger that the Oilers had out for that last face-off. I believe it may have been Bookberger. Yep. Yes, it was.
That's exactly who it was. See who jumped in there quickly? Big 28, Kjell Samuelsson asserting himself. But it's too late.
Is the stage ever set for Sunday at 7 p.m. Every facet of the game that the Oilers had an edge on is now held in question.
And you know, Mike, the way this game started, it started so strongly stacked against the Philadelphia Flyers. The cards were coming out all wrong. Oilers opened up a lead, 3 unanswered goals, and then it was spectrum determination that we have seen year after year by the Flyers. Scored 5 unanswered goals, and there's the final as a result of the 5 unanswered tallies. What a fabulous comeback.
And for not only the comeback, but for their effort throughout, Philadelphia can experience one of the greatest feelings of sports, and that's being in the locker room, exhausted but victorious. 5-3 Philadelphia.
Cut your energy bills with a new Carrier central air conditioner or heat pump. Buy now with no down payment. Pay later. How much later? June? No. July? No. Not even August. You don't have to pay till after Labor Day. Then choose convenient monthly terms or pay the full amount with no interest charges. A limited time offer. Call today.
Schultes Brothers for complete terms and details. 793-8000.
Do you need extra storage space? Do you need a place to store vehicles or supplies? Well, you need Rent-A-Spot. Rent-A-Spot of Allegheny Valley, just minutes from the Oakmont Golf Course, has a space for all seasons. From a 5x5 to a 10x30, Rent-A-Spot is open 7 days a week and features on-site management, month-to-month leasing, climate-controlled storage, free in-and-out privileges, and a secured, fenced, and lighted storage area. Call Rent-A-Spot of Allegheny Valley at 337-1505. That's 337-1505.
Through these gates lives the famed movie mogul who owns the hottest names in Hollywood on video cassette.
And you can own them too.
Sure, for a king's ransom.
No, for only $24.95 each, you can own these 15 hits.
Scarface.
Conan the Barbarian.
High Plains Drifter.
The Deer Hunter.
You've got them all.
And so can you. Just go to your video retailer and say, hey, make me a movie mogul.
Jack Rooney just tuned up his car, but he forgot to change something very important, his engine belts.
After 4 years, belts can break anytime. So don't take chances. Next tune-up, get Gates belts.
More mechanics installed gates and more people rely on them than any other belt made. Remember, if your car's 4 years old, get gates before it's too late.
The Great American Face. Rugged, distinctive. The Great American Razor. Atra. Solid. Pivots for closeness. The Great American Face deserves the Great American Shave. Atra. Only from Gillette.
18 skaters, 2 goaltenders suited up for both teams tonight. And with the exception of Chico Resch, almost every player in Philadelphia had a hand in this one. Made it a little hard to choose a star, but who do you pick?
I have to go with Ron Sutter for 2 reasons. Number 1, offensively, 3 assists. And he's not known for playing offensive hockey. He also held Wayne Gretzky to 1 shot on goal and just had an excellent 2-way hockey game. For the Hartford Insurance Player of the Game, Ron Sutter, the insurance people of ITT, I think it's safe to say that if the Flyers had not had Ron Sutter, they wouldn't have won the hockey game tonight, and that's an indication that he deserves to be the player of the game.
Tom Meese is downstairs with our Hartford Insurance Player of the Game, Ron Sutter. Tom?
Thank you very much, Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement. Ron, coming into this 3rd game of the Stanley Cup Finals, the Flyers hadn't scored more than 2 goals a game. You fall down 3-0 in this game in your home ice, and then all you do is get 5 goals in a row. How do you explain that?
You know, hard work, and, you know, maybe a break or 2 along the way, and, you know, we just seemed to, you know, we were getting the chance before the puck wasn't going in for us. We knew, you know, you work hard, you're going to create your own breaks, and hopefully you can capitalize on it.
I think that a lot of folks would like to know, psychologically, when Glenn Anderson scored that goal to make it 3-0, and it was still relatively early in the 2nd period, what was Keenan saying to you guys, and what, more importantly, what were you saying to yourself to jack yourself up and to say, hey, let's not give up the ship?
Well, we knew we started a little bit slow, but hey, we were still in the game. There was still, you know, 37+ minutes left, and we were working hard, and, you know, it was kind of a lucky goal for that one. Then the 9-second goal, you know, left in the 1st period, and we just, hey, keep working. We got a team that, you know, doesn't say die, and we knew if we just kept plugging away, you know, 1 at a time here, 1 at a time there, we'd get back in it.
When you finally took the lead, and as it turned out, it was the game-winning goal, the first time the Flyers had the lead in this series, could you notice any questioning on the faces of the Edmonton Oilers, any sagging on their part?
I think maybe they were getting a little bit tired.
Really?
Not so much the forwards, but, you know, we were forward-checking a lot better tonight than we were in the 2 previous games, and we just wanted to keep the puck going in ahead, keep their defense turning, and keep them going after it. And first man in, you know, if he was, you know, apply the forecheck and second guy could be there, we knew that, you know, we were picking up the pace, and hopefully we were slowing it down for him.
Much was made, and I think without doubt, Kjell Samuelsson played his best game of the playoffs, and I think he got a lot of plaudits. You know, he's taken a lot of bad words about him since the trade, but he was a stalwart tonight when you need him with Crossman out.
You know, he's quietly contributed all year for us, you know, ever since the trade was made, and you know, no one ever says anything about him, and, you know, tonight we wanted to make sure we had to go with 5 or 6 defensemen. You know, Howie's getting tired a little bit. You know, Brad McCrimmon's played a lot, and we knew that, you know, he was going to have to come in and play a role, and it's been, you know, different guys, and he's just another guy who's come in and played well for us when we needed him.
Ron Sutter, a man who typifies the work ethic of this Philadelphia Flyer hockey club, our Hartford Insurance Player of the Game. Hartford, the people of ITT. 5-3, the Flyers win it. They're back in the series, trailing the Edmonton Oilers now 2-1. We'll be back to talk with Bill Clement and Mike Emmerich with more in a moment.
Deck owners, want your deck to look like this again instead of this? Big job? No. This bright, natural look was restored with Woolman Deck Brightener. It's new. Just mix with a gallon of water. It's safe, fast, easy to use. From the Woolmanized, pressure-treated wood people. Restores an average deck in about an hour. Woolman Deck Brightener. Part of the Woolman family of deck stains, water repellents, and preservatives. Woolman. Products for decks that last.
We'll announce the final cuts after tomorrow's practice.
I can't sleep in that land, I think.
You gotta start hitting from out there, Harris.
Oh, I need a drink of cool, cool rain.
The wait is $5 easy pieces for 1987. Easy to own, easy to ride, easy to find. 5 new Kawasaki's, all under $2,500 at your Kawasaki dealer. for a better shave, one remarkable razor is in a class by itself. The Rotatract from Norelco. Inside 3 floating heads, 45 lifters and cutters grip and raise for an incredibly close, incredibly comfortable shave, with the blade never touching the skin. The close, comfortable Rotatract shave from Norelco.
The final score tonight from the Spectrum in Philadelphia. The Flyers beat the Edmonton Oilers 5-3, climbing back in this series. The Oilers now lead it 2-1, and Game 4 will be back here at the Spectrum Sunday night at 7 Eastern Time. The thing that is remarkable to me, Mike Emmerich and Bill Clement, is that Philadelphia fell down 3 goals in the second period in a game that they had to win, let's face it. But they didn't give up. They scored 5 straight goals. This has to do wonders for Philadelphia's confidence, and as Ron Sutter said, maybe put a few willies into the thoughts of the Edmonton Oilers as they come into this building for Game 4 Sunday, a building where historically Edmonton has not done well. I'd be interested in getting your thoughts on that.
Well, patience and discipline is something that we've hammered on throughout this series, and we saw it exemplified by Philadelphia tonight. Maybe toward the end of the game we didn't see it exemplified by Edmonton. Bill made a very good point at the end. Edmonton takes a tremendous chance by putting out the tough guys near the end, because 2 things can happen. Well, actually, 3 things can happen. I guess you could call the fight a draw. They could lose it, they could win it. And really, even if it's a draw, that's bad for them as well.
Well, you know what I think of when I look back at this game? I remember point 3 that we made about the keys, Mike, and that was for Philadelphia, and we talked about health. All of a sudden, the name Tim Kerr pops into my mind. How healthy is he getting? A lot of people before tonight were saying we're not even going to be going back to Edmonton. Fans, writers, people that are standing around, and you overhear them talking. Well, guess what? The Flyers are going back to Edmonton, and they're going to play another game here on Sunday night, and I wonder if they'll be able to get Tim Kerr back. They're getting healthier and healthier, and it's always been a race against time with them, with all of their injuries. Now they have Craven back, they got Daniel back, they got Carson back. I wonder if they can get Kerr back.
Gee, there's been some marvelous goaltending in this series, but there was a beautiful setup on the winning goal tonight. The setup came from Scott Mellanby.
And you know, the Flyers had 8 quality chances in the third period. This is one of them. The Oilers only had 2. Sutter does the smart thing by dumping and then going to the net. He knows he has Brad McCrimmon to his left. So what does he do? He dumps to Mellanby and then drives for the net. And that leaves Brad McCrimmon, who incidentally made a great play by being up there to receive the pass as a defenseman, wide open, the thread from Mellanby, and a great goal. But once again, we have to point out, that was just a defensive lapse by the Oilers. How do you end up with a 3-on-2 like that from the neutral zone when you're trying to protect a 1-goal lead?
Gee, it's odd how things can change. Pure was so sharp earlier in the game. The Oilers seemed to have their game together, and then back came Philadelphia, and the Oilers showed a little bit of a tendency toward cracking in Philadelphia. All they needed was a crack and drove right through.
If you could lend me a quarter, I could flip it and tell you what's going to happen on Sunday night. Have no idea, but the Flyers are back.
He's not going to show heads or tails. We'll be back with final thoughts in just